What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. So, on Monday, journalist Michael Shellenberger released an article that many consider to be a bombshell. I still have my doubts. I'm very, very highly skeptical. But essentially, the gist of it is that he spoke to a new whistleblower. That's what he calls him. We don't know if it's a woman or a man. We don't know their name or anything like that. But Shellenberger released a term called Immaculate Constellation, which is the name of this alleged SAP, Special Access Program, that is unacknowledged. Shellenberger says, he claims, that this SAP was inaugurated in 2017, right after the article from the New York Times. He says also that this program has all the material, photographic, video, documents, that is the smoking gun of UAP disclosure. He claims that this program has all the goods that this control disclosure movement has been looking for a while. And there are a couple of quotes that I gotta show you guys. It says, the whistleblower's report includes 7 categories of evidence. It describes in detail various UAP sightings collected by technical assets and U.S. military personnel. And I quote, the multitude of wavelengths collected by these sensors have captured UAP characteristics that are difficult or impossible to observe with the human eye alone. Subtle atmospheric effects associated with UAP are also visible through the sensors employed by the U.S. military and intelligence agencies. The verifiable chain of custody for UAP IMINT, quality imagery intelligence, collected by U.S. military assets, the person wrote, ensures a high level of confidence in the accuracy and integrity of the data gathered. Get a load of this. The report concludes that the existence of Immaculate Constellation demonstrates an extant capability to detect, quarantine, transfer UAP and ARV, Alien Reproduction Vehicle, collection incidents before they are observed and circulated within the military intelligence enterprise, thus serving as a means of enforcing internal information security. A former IC official confirmed to public the existence of Immaculate Constellation. That program is run out of SECDEF, Office of the Secretary of Defense, the person said. They don't want to acknowledge it's real. The same person warned that simply printing the name Immaculate Constellation could trigger government surveillance under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of whoever publishes it. They won't comment on it. The red flags that I see here are very specific. So let's begin with the one that I was giving a lot of flack about, which is I am trying to report on this, but people who don't believe any of the people from the control disclosure movement, Elizondo, Grush, Shellenberger, Ross Coulthard, Blumenthal, Leslie Kane, all of these people, they go at me telling me that I shouldn't trust them. The reality is that trusting anybody in this field is really, really difficult because anybody could be lying, really. We don't know about the intentions of people who are like telling you stuff about UFOs, but then they publish books with the permission of the DoD. Or when Grush was testifying, he kept saying that he didn't have permission to say something from the DoD. This means that it is controlled by the powers that be. So Whenever any information about this comes out, I understand anybody who questions it, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to report on it. So I'm sorry, but I have to report on this, even though it may be also possible that none of it is true. And we're dealing with something different from what they are trying to report on or push. Having said that, I think that Shellenberger has a good track record. He doesn't only do UFO stuff, he does a lot of different aspects of the world occurrences, like world news. And I have a lot of respect for him, to be honest with you, because he's done a lot of great work. I even said that if this article is true about Immaculate Constellation, if this SAP exists, this could potentially get Shellenberger a lot of awards because it is one of the most dangerous, potentially, pieces of written media that I've seen in a while, if it's true. Because he's risking a lot. He's already being surveilled. If this is true, more than likely. So there's that. Another red flag that I saw was that Shellenberger mentions ARV, which is Alien Reproduction Vehicles. There is a documentary that got me into this topic initially from director James Allen, who, when he was finishing the documentary, he was editing it. He got one of the most aggressive forms of cancer that I remember. It affected all of his organs and it killed him in a matter of months. I don't remember if he managed to see the finished product, but the documentary is called 0 Point, the story of Mark McCandlish and the Flux Liner. What is a Flux Liner, you ask? That is essentially an alien reproduction vehicle. It is the story of a sketch artist from aerospace companies, aerospace magazine companies. His name is Mark McCandlish, and he spoke to Dr. Greer and other people who were documenting his story about one of his co-workers who visited an air show that he missed just out of chance, where he was presented with a vehicle that was hovering above the ground, and there were three vehicles. One was really big, the other one was not that big, and the other one was for like two people. And this is the classic ARV rendition that McCandlish has promoted in many of Dr. Stephen Greer's documentaries and interviews. It is the same. And it raised a red flag for a lot of people because this term, ARV, is known as a term that Dr. Stephen Greer uses quite a bit. And we already know what a lot of people feel about Dr. Greer. He's a polarizing figure, to say the least. I know that he is very controversial, and I get why people are instantly skeptical about the McCandlish story, but I do gotta say, whoever says that they're skeptical about the McCandlish story, not about Greer, if it's not just because he's linked to Dr. Greer, would you be equally skeptical or less skeptical? I would love to know. What makes you skeptical in the first place? The fact that he's not a first-hand account? He's not. He's a second-hand account. But he did die under mysterious circumstances, and his story does tie up to a lot of stories of many scientists who either disappeared or were killed under mysterious circumstances. I, as you guys know, have been following the Jacobo Greenberg story for a while. And he also disappeared under mysterious circumstances. When someone is getting a little bit too close to something, whether it's a truth or a scientific breakthrough, I don't know. But it is weird how some people die, some people disappear. Don't you think? So, what makes you skeptical exactly? I would love to know. Because this story, I think it's compelling. And the fact that Shellenberger is already using this term, I want to know why. Who's he talking to? Is this one of Dr. Greer's people? Would be nice to know. I did hear that the whistleblower was legit by at least a couple of sources who are close to this. But then again, we go back to what I was talking about earlier about this story still having many holes and many inconsistencies, the control disclosure story. So it makes you wonder and question everyone and everything. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to go against the narrative or whatever, but I think it's fair to just question some of the inconsistencies, don't you think? So, what makes you skeptical about this particular report? So, here is Ross Coulthart with Michael Shellenberger and a couple of clips where he talks about the article, the SAP, Immaculate Constellation, and an encounter that an F-22 had that is also reported in this, which is also new to me. So here it is.
A new whistleblower has come forward with a written report that this person has shared with some members of Congress and with me. And the report is quite extraordinary. It says that there is an unacknowledged special access program called Immaculate Constellation, which is the parent program, is the language used for exactly what you said: UAP, crash retrieval, reverse engineering, and apparently a very large database of high quality photographs, videos, infrared videos, apparently much more sophisticated documentation of many more UAP encounters than have been released. And so the article is really about the allegation that this program exists and that it has been withheld from Congress illegally. I think it's important for viewers to understand that the first article of the United States Constitution requires congressional oversight of all of the activities of the executive branch of the United States government. So whether or not you think there are extraterrestrials or non-human intelligence or anything, even if you think that all of this is just some sort of advanced craft, the allegation here by a new whistleblower verified by other sources in a position to know is that the Pentagon the Defense Department has withheld, kept secret this information from Congress, which is a violation of the Constitution and illegal. So I think that what we're looking at here is really a story about the abuse of power, including in potential disinformation from the Pentagon, just as much as it is this other question of what exactly are people seeing in UAPs.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty, some of the detail that you do reveal in your report. And there is, as you've already acknowledged a little bit earlier, an absolutely incredible incident involving an F-22 Raptor, which is the top frontline fighter jet in the United States military arsenal. And it describes orbs surrounding and forcing an F-22 out of a patrol area. The F-22 broke trajectory and attempted to evade, but was intercepted and boxed in by approximately 3 to 6 UAPs. Now, the thing about that, Michael, is I often cop it from some viewers who are very much of the rosy view about non-human intelligence, that they're all benevolent and kind. What you seem to be describing here is something where, at the very least, a UAP or a group of UAPs are essentially trying to behave like an adversary. They're boxing in a fighter jet. What's going on? What does the whistleblower think about that finding? And what conclusion did you reach on the basis of the evidence that you read in the report?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, I mean, so again, I want to stress, I'm new to this. I have, beginner mind on this issue. I mean, I'm not by any means an expert on it or a military expert. So with those caveats out of the way, I mean, the first most obvious thing you're struck by with that particular case is that this technology or form of life or whatever it is, adversary, is demonstrating dominance. I mean, just the most simple basic thing is that there's somebody in if there's an interaction, it can be cooperative or among equals, or it can be hierarchical, and there's dominance by a greater power. And in this case, that those craft or phenomena or whatever are demonstrating dominance, and that does have to do with that TikTok incident that the Navy pilots describe. I mean, I think you could argue that it wasn't not necessarily, we don't know if it's, say, hostile. In other words, nobody was shot down and there's no evidence that anybody was harmed. But dominance is about power and about a demonstration of capabilities. And so clearly, in that case, and there are other cases in that report, which again I hope is made public. These are phenomena showing dominance. It's not showing, benevolent space brotherhood. It's demonstrating dominance at a very basic physical level. You don't need to do a lot of interpretation to see that that's what's going on.
So in the report, you actually describe how one UAP maneuvered very close to the jet, to the starboard of the cockpit, and it established a rigid spatial relationship with the F-22, so that when the jet was rolling and diving and trying to get away from this object, it stayed fixed. That's what I find fascinating. Whatever the technology is behind these objects, what they were able to do was track exactly what the F-22 was doing. It couldn't shake it.
Amazing. I mean, I think, anybody that knows some of the history of this, it sounds a lot like Foo Fighters, from World War II, these similar orbs. I mean, orbs are very a common UAP, but not, because I think an important piece of context is that, and I describe and.
Okay. So what do you guys think about this? Ross was very quick to, report on this with this interview. Kudos to Ross. He was already on it. Why that name? That name is kind of weird. It has like a little religious even connotation to it. And if you guys remember the name Zodiac, which I already talked about, that George Schnapp confirmed that it is a name that is talked about in closed circles. It's all constellations. So, I don't know. If Zodiac no longer exists, maybe this is the new name. So, let me know what you guys think about this report from Michael. Do you believe it? Do you not believe it at all? Let me know everything you think about this and what the reaction from this has been. And what do you think about the ARB stuff? Alien Reproduction Vehicle. What do you think about the term? And the fact that Shellenberger just used it in his article. Let me know in the comments. If you like the content you see, you can like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you can get notified when a new video drops. Let me know. I want to know everything. I'll be talking to y'all in the comment section, and I'll see you guys until tomorrow's video. Bye-bye.